Hello, I'm Tracy Ann Burgess and welcome to the Change Channel. We're at episode number 4 today, and what I'd like to talk to you about today is we have been talking about change and about independence and how that impacts upon how you manage big life change. But what I'd like to talk to you about is I really believe that there is a process, and I have created like a process that you would use to work through change, not to try and kind of shrink it down or to try and manage it, but use it as an opportunity to kind of like realign your life in a new direction, whatever direction that you determine, which is why I've been talking about independence, because you are the only one that really knows who you are and what you really want and what your capabilities are. And we've talked about this, what your dreams are. You're the only one that knows what your soul is telling you to do and where to go. So when you go through a big life change, it often includes some sort of loss of a partner, loss of a job, loss of a career, loss of something, and loss of identity. And in that chaos, we've been talking about how it's so easy to kind of reach out to someone else other or something else outside of yourself. But I'm all about coming back in here and consulting with your own authority about what to do with your life. This can be really hard when you're in the middle of, oh my fucking God, what is going on? So today I'd like to talk a little bit about how do you manage that? And we always want to talk about it in terms of opportunity, but let's try and make sure that we're not amplifying this chaos. Because actually in the so-called chaos where many things are unplugged in your life, there's so much opportunity to find some really good things and for yourself, for empowerment, for redirecting in your life, for identifying opportunities for yourself and identifying ways of going deeper and stepping deeper into who you are. One of the things I want to talk about today is you need to be really careful about getting lost in your story, about retelling your story. Now, the story that I'm talking about is what has led to this series of events that has made you realize that you're not in Kansas anymore. You know, like everything's really changed. And so either you've got your identity's been really challenged, or you've lost someone, you've lost something, and that can be so disorientating. At the same time, you want to be careful that you don't attach yourself too much to this story and amplify this story and tell everybody constantly and going on about it. Because let me tell you, people have got a limited attention span for this sort of stuff. Firstly, it makes them feel really uncomfortable, and then they've got to look at change in the face, and that can make them feel really uncomfortable. So you might find that you can maybe tell the story a couple of times, 2 or 3 times, to some close people around you, but actually if you tune in to how you're feeling when you tell that story, if you find that your mind is like a magnet and somehow it just like grabs onto that story and starts running with that story and starts rehashing it all and blowing it all up and kind of like blowing up, it blows up at the same time, makes you relive the hurt and the pain and the loss and the shame and the whatever you have going on with your story that has brought you to this place. And sometimes it's a really amazing story. I've heard amazing stories. And my story, I don't even want to tell people about my story. It was so ridiculous, so out of control. There were so many things that had this domino effect that just went, oh shit, bang, 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 bang. And it left me gasping to the point where I couldn't even really tell people the story because firstly I thought they're just not going to get it. Secondly, it rattled my cage so much to actually tell it. Initially, I couldn't even bring myself to actually talk about all the events as they happened. I had so many strong feelings attached to it. But after a while, once I started talking about it, I started talking to people about you know, they would ask me, oh, hello, I'd be introduced to someone, hello, and then I'd start going, blah, 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 start telling this story. And there was actually, I realised there was actually a fair bit of victim stuff going on in that story that I was identifying with. So that was really unhelpful to my process, because that was getting me locked in as the victim. And that can really be a trap. And I have spoken to some women that are so involved in their story, and they will tell their story for years, and they haven't actually moved on from the story. They're so identifying with the story as who they are that they can't move on. And that's unhelpful. It really is unhelpful. And you're needing to come in and work your way through that story. So put the story down. I was talking to someone the other day, that story was so big. I said, okay, this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that you've bought a ticket to a massive IMAX cinema that's playing your story on this massive screen. You're the only one in there watching it. And you're sitting in the front row against this huge screen, and your story is blaring and playing. And you've bought that ticket every day, and you're going in and playing that, and you can't get out from under your story. So I said, this is what I think you should do. If you choose, always a choice on your part. This is a suggestion of mine, and this is what I needed to do to get out from under my story. You actually imagine that you're folding your screen up into quarters, into eighths, and you fold it up into a nice small little bite-sized thing. You pop it in a matchbox, you close it up, and you put it under your stairs. Or you actually just imagine that you're putting it into a ship with a steel hull and you're sending it out to sea. Step away from that story. Take the heat out of your story. Step back. Get yourself some distance. Because whilst it is so huge and playing on this huge screen with surround sound and the whole crescendo and the orchestra and the wailing and the loss and the shame and the grief and the anger and the whatever you've got attached to it, you can't get out from under it. You're not your story. A big thing to realize, you are not your story. And there's going to be more stories in your life. And it's going to be up to you to create them for yourself. But you need to step away from this big one to get it down into perspective so that you can actually start to get some space around you to think about, where else am I going to go now? There's still going to be discomfort. There's opportunity in this discomfort. There really is. I can see that there's something. What's up the top there? What's something? I don't know what's that. Oh, that is my light. Let me move my light. Yeah, I'm going to have to move you all around a little bit. There we are. Move my light. Are we sort of straight? I think we're sort of straight. There we are. Oh, so funny. The other day I bashed this. It was like, this is my little thing that I made from behind me, because I like to cut things out and do things. And I bashed this. It reminded me of the Ed Wood film. You know the Ed Wood movie about the director with Johnny Depp? He made B-grade movies, and they were always knocking into walls, and the walls were going on. It was hilarious. Anyway, I digress. If you can step away from your story, give yourself some space, and just practice this a little bit more about stepping into who you are without your story. Be guided by your feelings. What you feel inside of you is real, which is why I was talking about writing down in your journal all about what you're wanting. And the exercise we were talking about yesterday was writing down, if you could create any life that you wanted without any restrictions or any boundaries, what would it look like? And we were really talking about feeling into that and feeling into about what you're really wanting and what really lights you up. And so this is an exercise about kind of tapping in more and more, stepping in more and more into who you are, feeling more and more inside of you, not reaching out there, just coming back in here. If you find you're getting too overwhelmed, just go to staying in the now, into the now moment, which just is such a helpful place to be. When you're in the now, you can't take any thoughts in there. It's a very, very simple practice. You can just sit somewhere and you can look at anything. You can look at a tree, you can look at anything, but you don't let any thoughts attach. You just stay in that that 1 second, and you just stay there. And after a while, you just feel, you can just concentrate on the sound of your breathing, just breathing in and out, or just feel into your heartbeat and just sit there and just let your mind empty. You can't take in the future, you can't take in the past, you're just in the present, and that will help you connect back into the space of you, into your soul space, into your now space. You can't take in any drama, you can't take in any movies, you can't take in any stories, it's just you. So continuing on from yesterday, in your journal, how about start to write down things in terms of, I give myself permission to go in this direction. I give myself permission to feel joy. I give myself permission to take authority in my own life, to determine my own life. And then there are certain things you're not available for. I'm not available for any longer for my story. Cut things out and include things, and just start writing it in your journal. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. I hope that's really helpful. What I really want to talk about, and just think about this until next time we meet, which will be tomorrow, is that it is a process moving really from the chaos of change into the direction that you want to go. So it is sequential. I find that it's sequential. So I'm going to introduce you to my cards tomorrow. My first card, and she is all about independence. So I really build from the most chaotic point then over to how you can direct your life and how you can do it in an empowered way for yourself. My approach is very much about coming back into you. It's not anything about anything outside of yourself. So you don't need anything. You don't need anything. You don't need anyone in this process. Of course, you can go and do other things. You can consult other people, do whatever you like. But in the process that I'm talking about, it's really all about empowerment and coming back into yourself. And there's lots of different ways, and there's 14 steps that I have. And then we're talking about the independence, which is the first sort of step. And so everything's just a small step, and we just break it down, feel into it, practice it, work on it with your journal. Because if you just practice a little bit every day about kind of redirecting, like stepping away from your story, writing down what you want, feeling, stepping into more of who you are, giving yourself permission to be more and more of who you are, then you will find that things will start to clear for you, and you'll start to feel more kind of in charge of this process and actually see it as a really magical process, because it really is. Don't be afraid of it. The discomfort is a good thing. Need to get a little bit comfortable with discomfort, because there's real opportunity in there. But let's just try and keep that discomfort down let's keep the amplification of that down a little bit. The more you play your story, the harder it is to manage. So just dial that down a tone. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now. And remember, change is opportunity. Grab it with both hands. See you later. Bye.